All right, I think we're ready to get started for the deep dive. I just want to say welcome to everybody out there. So good to start the Monday morning off on the deep dive always, and see folks there. See you, Joanne and Becky Jean. Great to see you this morning. As always, if you're watching, let us know where you're watching from. Check in on the deep dive this morning. So good to see people from all over the country that start their week. Where we talk about the most important topics, in housing. And this morning, we're going to talk about home prices. And I'll guarantee you this, if you want a topic that will engage people and people have an opinion about, it is prices of homes in this country. That's for sure. So over the next few minutes, we're going to do that and kind of cover, sort of the position of where we stand right now. And I think that's going to be important. A couple of things that are really, really good that our KCM research team has uncovered. I'm going to give that to you. Then we're just going to sort of move into how that's affecting sort of the 20 largest cities, as sort of told by Case Shiller. It's very interesting. And then what's ahead for 2025? Really, what can we expect for prices? We stay on top of everything with prices here at Keeping Current Matters, and so that you can have the confidence to have these conversations. Alex did a wonderful job on the deep dive last week, and he talked about conversations equal contracts. And I would say conversations also equal conversions, and ultimately conversations will equal listings. And our job and what we want to do for you is give you the confidence to have those conversations so that you can engage. And at the end here, if you'll hang around, I'll give you a couple of things that you can do right now to engage people with prices and a couple of ideas. But listen, if I was you right now, I would get out my phone. I would take a picture of some of these slides. You're a KCM member, you grab these slides. They'll sort of, be prompted in your mind to go back to and say, hey, I want to share that one. I want to talk about that one. I want to add that one to maybe my listing presentation or something like that. Maybe a buyer consult if you're talking about prices and where they stand right now. So with that as sort of a backdrop, we will get started here on the deep dive. Good to see everybody. I still see you there. Rick there in Bel Air, Florida. Good place to be, seems like this morning. Mark in Clovis, California. Roger, see you there. Scott, see you there down in the Panhandle. Great to see you, buddy. So good to see everybody from all over the country as we get started here. So deep dive this morning, moderating home price and how that is good news for buyers. I believe it is. The last several years, home prices were out of control, really unhealthy across the country. So we're going to talk about what's happening right now with prices. I'll start out here with Selma Hepp. And she says this, Selma's with CoreLogic, chief economist. She says home prices have mostly been moving sideways starting in late summer through the end of 2024, a trend that may continue into the early months of 2025. So, this is sort of the market that, maybe we would call not too hot, not too cold, but maybe moving sideways, and depending on where you're at, you can certainly weigh in here in the chat of what's happening with prices in your area. Maybe some folks maybe not seeing as much activity on prices, maybe others seeing more activity, but share that for sure in what you're seeing in your local market, because taking the national picture and applying it to here's what we're seeing right now in our local market is what I believe is going to be very, very important throughout the year, but always as the expert, being able to compare and contrast. Here's maybe what you're hearing. Here's what's happening right here, so people have a good understanding of what's going on. But if we look at that sideways market that Selma Hepp described from Case Shiller here, this is the month-over-month change in home values going all the way back to January of last year. This information is probably the best pricing information you can get. It runs in arrears, but shows just this sort of market just kind of plodding along here. And we'll talk more about this and what forecasters are saying about prices and what that's going to mean this coming year. And I think for most of the country, that's probably the case, that we're going to see it just sort of trickle along here, with mortgage rates being a little bit higher than what we've seen, and want to see those come down a little bit and bring more people back into the market. But if you look at it regionally, there is some difference here. You start to see there in the middle there, the West, South Central, East, North Central, East, South Central from FHFA, showing a little bit of home price depreciation month over month as of the latest November report. But if you go and start to look at, really the U.S., 0.3% month over month, a very, sort of normalized, and the word I would use in this relative to prices is a healthy market, right? We want to see healthy price appreciation in this country, not unhealthy like what we've seen over the past several years. If you start to look at this across the 20 largest cities, Case-Shiller compiles those and they say, okay, what's happening year over year in the 20 largest cities in this country? And this is a look right here. You see some of the high points, some of the maybe slower markets relative to price. And I went in and sort of highlighted to give you kind of a perspective on what's happening with price right here. And let me sort of break this down. There are 7 markets right now that are above 5% in price appreciation, but the majority of metros right now are below 5%, maybe in that 3%, 4% range, some a little bit lower than that. Depending on where you're at, it may be reflective of that if you're in one of those markets or sort of, near one of those markets. But I think it's safe to say that we're heading into a different sort of time in home prices in this country. And that's a message. I'm going to give you a couple of ways to get this message out, but that's a message that I believe buyers want to hear. So many people over the last several years opted out of buying a home because prices were rising so quickly. They opted out because of rising mortgage rates, all the things that we know. But I think as we start to look, there's a message here for moderating home prices that buyers are going to want to pay attention to. You're going to want to deliver that to them. If we keep on this sort of narrative here, this is a look at the Case-Shiller 20 city composite going all the way back to January of 2019. So let's sort of look at this. January 2019, if you see my arrow there, my cursor, sort of kind of plodding along in a very normalized market, then get into COVID and kind of the post-COVID bump that we saw in housing when mortgage rates fell and saw tremendous home price appreciation. Then we've come down off of that, really through the rise in mortgage rates is what drove that. And now we're settling into a place that's maybe a little bit higher than where we were prior to COVID, but in a very normalized type of market. And I think that will be good news for people that are sort of thinking about buying a home. I was talking to somebody literally this weekend about the home they had purchased in, I think it was 2018, and just the price appreciation they had seen in that. And I think there are a lot of people in that boat, and there are a lot of people also in the boat right now that feel like maybe they're priced out of a home, that moderating home prices are good news for them. Zillow said this. They said prices are expected to rise this year, though most will do so more slowly than they did last year. Slower growth is good news for buyers who have locked in their budgets and are saving for down payments. So I think that is good news. I mentioned our KCM research team does such a great job at following the forecasts that are out in the world and in the market for home prices. And we've got sort of this composite look at 22 forecasters. Maybe you've seen this before when we've talked about the forecast for 2025. And this is a look going ahead this year. And we stay up to date on this. I got a question the other day about, do you think some of these are going to change dramatically, in the last month? And what about the impacts of tariffs and all the questions that come up relative to things that impact the housing market? And I will tell you this, we update these home price forecasts as soon as they are updated. Some update them more frequently than others, but I'll say, I don't think we're going to see any dramatic swings in this. Maybe some up and down and a little bit there, but you see most of these forecasters going ahead for this year are saying somewhere between maybe 3 and 4% in residential home prices. And that's a good thing. The average of all of these is 2.9%. Maybe some folks fall a little bit below that, some fall a little bit above that, but that is a healthy look at prices going forward in the market, and that is a good thing. I think one of the things that's most important about this, and I mentioned it before, I would grab maybe a screen grab. If you're a KCM member, go in and grab these slides. It's taking action. If you show up to the deep dive, every Monday morning and you don't then do something with it, then it's not going to make an impact. And I want to give you a couple of ways, and then I want to sort of end on something here this morning that I think is very, very encouraging and a reason that I would say right now, if I was you, I would take action with this. So I'll show you that in just a minute. First thing I would do, read today's KCM blog and share it. It's on why home price growth is moderating, and here's why that's good news for you. Okay, remember going back to last week, conversations equal contracts. Conversations ultimately equal listings. I think getting this message out is going to be critically important. Second thing I would do is I would go in and I would record and share today's Real Talk script. Uses the graphic right there, why home prices are growing at a more normalized pace. The one thing I will guarantee you, you go in and record a video about prices, you will for sure get engagement. People will have opinions and say, well, I think it's not sustainable. I think this, I think that. You'll be able to engage that and be the professional, be the expert to talk with them. So that is my advice. That is what I would do if I was you. I'm looking here to see if there were any questions in the comments there about prices. Love to hear in the comments what's happening with prices in your area, because I think we're going to see a lot of difference in different parts of the country relative to home prices. So if you have anything to share there, please share it there for the group. Now, why is this important right now? I think it's important for a number of different reasons. I mean, we sit here, the beginning of February, a lot of people going, well, the market's a little bit slower and mortgage rates are a little bit higher and the winter's here and I was up too late last night watching the Super Bowl. All the things that we know are true about where we're at right now. But here's the interesting thing. Bankrate did a study and they asked people, how optimistic and are you hoping to buy a home in the next 12 months? And it's interesting in the fact that in 2025, this was done, by NerdWallet, not Bankrate, 15% of people said they hope to buy a home in the next 12 months. Now, what's interesting, just visually, you can see it here. That's more than 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. More people optimistic about buying a home. And sometimes if we're not careful, we might think, gosh, there's very few people out there that want to buy. Actually, according to this study, there's more people thinking about it right now than have thought about it in the last 5 years. And that's a good thing. Our job is to engage them, to show them how, to help them navigate this market. And I say this all the time when we're here on the deep dive. That is why we exist at Keeping Current Matters, for the very reason that we believe most agents out there know what's happening. Good agents understand what's happening, but only the great agents can and will explain what's happening. So your job today is to get out there and explain exactly what's happening with home prices. Use these resources we're giving you as KCM. Go in and read the blog, record the Real Talk script, send a text out saying, hey, I was studying prices this morning, and I want to talk to you, or you're interested in hearing about what's happening in prices in our area. So hope that finds you well. I hope you have a wonderful week this week, and we will see you back on the deep dive. We'll actually not be here next Monday for the holiday, but we'll be back the following Monday. So take care, and we'll see you soon.